Hey there, it is Tomster here on the behalf of Indie Structural Productions, once again continuing with the twin build. So this week we're going to have a look at doing all the inlays. First things first, I start off with radiusing the fretboard. Now I don't particularly have to do this at this point, but I like to get the fretboard as close to the correct radius as possible. That means that I'm going to be doing probably 150, 180, 240 grit papers, and then moving on to doing the inlays, and then moving on to doing the fine sanding after that. I radius most of my fretboards to 16-inch radiuses, just because I kind of like that feel. I feel 14 is a bit too round. Anything lower than that's way more round, and anything bigger than 16 inches is just way too flat. Now, one of the major things you have to be very wary of is that you're doing this in a controlled manner. Let the sandpaper do the work and keep on constantly checking with the radius gauge that your fretboard radius doesn't change. Now when marking out dots and stuff like that as your inlays, you have to have a center line, and then you have to have the midpoint. The way to get the middle point is to use a ruler or a good straight edge to connect corners of each fret slot, and that should, if you're careful enough, connect with your center line. Always double check before moving forwards. Then, using a bradawl, I just mark everything out, so it makes it much easier for me to drill the holes. Then with the brad point drill bit, drill all the holes needed. Now for these particular guitars, I used brass tubing, and the way I did that was I first put a little bit of super glue in the hole, cut them to a rough size, and then hammered them in and flooded it with super glue again. It's a very simple process and grants a very good result. And this for sure makes certain that those inlays are not going to go anywhere. They're not going to fall off. They're going to stay there forever. As long as the guitar is intact, the inlays are going to be just as intact. Then we're marking out the side markers on the fretboard. It's very important that you mark them out so that they are exactly in the center between two frets and the fretboard itself. And once again, make doubly sure. So measure, then use the brad point, and then use the drill. And at this point, if you're using brass tubing, it's also extremely important that you drill the holes as straight as possible, because if you waver a little bit, when you cut these and file these inlays down, they're going to look more like ovals instead of round circles, which is what you kind of want. So once all the inlays are in place, just file them down or sand them down with a leveling beam until they're flush with your fretboard, and then move on to the next part. So because they're tubing, I want to fill that tubing with the wood of the fretboard. Very easy way to do that is first drill out all the super glue from the middle, and then take some of the excess material left over from your fretboard, and I'm using just a normal pencil sharpener just to make a point, and super glue, then hammer it in. Always, if you're doing this, have safety goggles on. You do not want super glue in your eyes. That is a very, very bad thing to do. It's not going to be very pleasant. So do as I say, not as I do, because as you can see right here, I am not wearing even my glasses, because I think I got super glue on those earlier. Anyway, thank you very much for watching this episode. Another episode to come again next week, so I hope to see you then. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to see more. Bye-bye.